Retiring with $100,000, a million, or 10 million doesn't just change how much you can spend, it completely changes where you can live, how you travel, how you handle health problems, and how much stress you live with. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what retirement actually looks like at each level so you can understand what changes and what doesn't. And the lens that we're going to look at for this video is the idea that your retirement quality is equal to your options minus your constraints. And what you're going to notice as I talk about each of these levels is that as wealth rises, constraints are going down and options are going up, leading to greater and greater retirement quality. So with that said, let's dive into the details. To give you an idea of what retiring with $100,000 looks like, I want to introduce you to a client of mine named Frank. Now, Frank had parents who never had a lot of money, either in their childhood or adulthood, and so they never taught Frank really much of anything about good financial habits or lessons. And so when his parents passed away, he received a small inheritance of just over $100,000. The reality for Frank is that his income is mostly Social Security, about $20,000 a year. His rent is about 50% of his entire paycheck, and it's actually forced him to live in rural America where rent is at least a little bit cheaper. Because he lives in a rural area, he needs to maintain a car to get around. But he doesn't have enough money to get it repaired. So the reality for Frank is that he's always working on his truck because he can't pay to have it fixed for him. The biggest challenge that Frank faces is that he's going to have to keep working deep into his 70s just to support his retirement. In other words, life is really difficult. You are essentially surviving rather than thriving. Realistically, with $100,000 using the 4% rule, you could sustainably draw about $4,000 of income from that portfolio per year. That is not going to give you the ability to buy a heck of a lot in 2026. The other unfortunate reality is that for anyone who's living beyond the age of 65, there's about a 70% chance that they will have a long-term care event. Now, what does that mean? A long-term care event means that you're unable to do at least 2 of the 7 activities of daily living, like eating, cleaning, just basic hygiene. If you can't do 2 of those, you are now undergoing a long-term care event. The tough thing is that getting help during a long-term care event is incredibly expensive. It is at least $60,000 a year. It's easy to spend $70,000 or $80,000 a year on long-term care. So the reality for Frank is that as he gets older, into his late 70s or 80s, if he has a long-term care event, that is quickly going to rob him of his entire portfolio and severely impact his lifestyle. I talked before about how Frank is having to live in a rural area just to make housing more affordable. And that's the reality for anyone who only has $100,000 in retirement. In other words, small shocks can have really big consequences at this level, whether it's due to something going on in the portfolio, or it's something going on with the economy and job losses, or it's inflation and taxes. Just subtle shifts can have big impacts. That's what makes life at this level just so difficult. Okay, so that's what retiring with $100,000 looks like. And you probably picked up on this idea that really it's being dominated by constraints and there's just not that many options. So with that said, let's get into what life looks like with $1 million. To understand what life is like retiring with $1 million, I want to introduce you to a couple clients that I work with, Ron and Tammy. Ron and Tammy collectively get about $55,000 from their Social Security benefits. And then Tammy had a career as a teacher, so she also gets a pension of about $30,000 for a total of about $85,000 of guaranteed income. Now, this already sets them up for a lot of success. It's the wind in their sails having that amount of guaranteed income. Now, they do have over $1 million saved, but they're only pulling about $20,000 a year from that to supplement their income. It lets them spend about $105,000 a year, which for them is all they want. It's all they need. They have their house paid off And at this point, they're enjoying what they love. They're flying to Seattle to see their kids and grandkids on a regular basis. They're also flying back to Michigan to see Ron's alma mater and to go watch the Wolverines play. So they are living a stress-free life. What I've noticed working with hundreds of clients who've saved over $1 million towards their retirement is typically they've had a higher earning career. So their Social Security check is going to be larger. And then they've also had the ability to save more in their 401k or their IRA, their brokerage account. So they've built up more savings. Now, those savings, if we have $1 million saved, kind of using this idea of the 4% rule, you could sustainably draw about 4% of that principal. So your earnings would let you take out about $40,000 a year and still have that $1 million intact. The other thing about having a portfolio of this size is you now have a larger margin of safety financially. So with $1 million saved, you essentially have a financial shock absorber. So even if there's an economic downturn or a stock market drop, you'll notice it, but it's not going to force you to go back to work or materially change their life. If I think about Ron and Tammy and a repeat of the 2008 recession, Ron would definitely notice it and we would have some conversations about it, but he's not going back to work and he can still enjoy the things that he wants to do because he has a retirement ready portfolio that has a balance between stocks and bonds. Okay, so that's what having $1 million in retirement actually looks and feels like. Now I'm going to talk about what $10 million in retirement is like. And most people are shocked when I reveal what having FU money is really like. When I think about having $10 million or more in retirement, I think about Larry and his wife, who I just happened to play golf with a few weeks ago. My buddy and I wanted to treat ourselves to a nice round at the Phoenician nearby, and we got randomly paired up with Larry. So I'm walking the first fairway with him, and he drops this line on me. He says, "Hey, just before 2008, I happened to have some money sitting around, and when housing prices crashed, I started buying up apartment buildings, and I turned that into a company that owned 15,000 units. And he said in January of 2020, I sold that business to a public company right before the COVID downturn." So I said, "Wait a second, you sold right at the peak?" He said, "Yeah, I'm feeling good and looking good." And when I think about Larry, I looked at his golf bag. It says Bel Air Country Club. So this is a guy who's visiting from out of town in Phoenix. He's playing a nice country club, but on a day-to-day basis, he's living in a huge house and he's playing one of LA's nicest golf courses. He is living the dream. Now, Larry aside, anyone with $10 million has such financial security that they are immune from whatever is going on in the economy and whatever is going on with the stock market. At this level of wealth, you could sustainably draw $300,000 a year after taxes to spend. Now, with $300,000 in spending, you can buy whatever you'd like. You can live where you want in whatever size house you want. You can have all the help you want. House cleaners, meal preppers, you name it, you got it. Beyond the financials, the biggest upside I've seen with having over $10 million is the ability to exchange money for more time. Now, I mean that in a few different senses. They not only get to invest in their health span, but they get to delegate, avoiding things they hate and just focusing on their hobbies. So let me explain what I mean by health span. I'm talking about the years where you're actually having enough energy and capacity to do what you love. So whether it's eating the right foods and enlisting a dietitian, or exercising the right way, enlisting a trainer, or buying supplements or buying wearables like an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch that keep track of your VO2 max and a DEXA scan that keeps track of your muscle mass. All of these things are enhancing the amount of time that you can enjoy your wealth. But it goes beyond that. In terms of delegating, you can afford to spend money on the house cleaner, on the meal prepper, or going out to dinner at restaurants all the time so that you're not spending time cooking or cleaning. And you can also be setting yourself up with more time to spend with family, whether you're traveling to see them, or even better, you're spending money for them to travel to come see you. Either way, it's about having that quality time with what you want. That's the biggest takeaway. Going from 100,000 to 1 million to 10 million isn't just 10x more money at each level. It's less stress, less risk, more time, and more freedom. There's this perception that money buys happiness, and unfortunately, it's just not true. If you have toxic family members that make Thanksgiving dinner a pain in the ass, having $10 million is not going to make it any easier. Or if you're in a marriage or have a spouse that you're unhappy with, having more money isn't going to make that marriage better. I have met so many unhappy, wealthy people, I've lost count. Whether it's because they struggle with addiction or traumas from childhood or depression, doesn't matter. More money doesn't help. Now, there is a dopamine hit that you get temporarily when you cross certain financial milestones, like over 1 million. I've got lots of clients who share with that. And there's lots of credence to the idea that you need to earn a living wage to feel a certain sense of happiness. There's good credence to that. Having more money doesn't increase your happiness proportionately. What doesn't change, however, is the importance of having quality relationships. And so if you loved this video, you will love this video where I talk about some of the top regrets that retirees have. We talk about that in that video. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.